Ex-bride decides to teach her cheating fiancé and her bridesmaid a befitting lesson. People wait for months and years for the most special day of their lives, the wedding day. The planning starts months before the actual date of the event, and when the day is finally near, the nerve-wracking excitement is at its peak. Imagine if you get to hear of inconceivable news on the eve of your wedding day. Will you be able to survive it, or will you become debilitated? And will you forgive the person who is the reason for ruining your wedding? Grab a bowl of popcorn, for this story is one of its own kind of wedding. There was a bride, a groom, and there were the bridesmaids. But there was also someone who spoiled the whole wedding. Who could it be, and what could have possibly gone wrong? The wedding day is one of the most special days of an individual's life. It embarks the start of a new journey built on trust, love, affection, care, and several other emotions. But what happens when the big day goes wrong and leaves a piece of appalling news and nothing else? The most exciting person at a wedding is the bride. It is supposed to be her day, and she is supposed to be the lady of the day, fetching all the attention and praises for herself. But what will happen when she will get to hear that her wedding will not be as she had planned it, but will prove out to be the contrary of what she had planned? The bride whose story we are talking about was also exhilarated for her wedding day with the man she had chosen to be her better half. But was it going to be the wedding that she had imagined, dreamed, and planned about? Certainly not. And why not? Because she was going to get a piece of news that she had never imagined, and that would change her and the would-be groom's life forever. The bride and her groom had planned a perfect day for themselves and their family and friends. They had put a lot of thought into all the details and wanted everything to be perfect. But this wedding was going to be far from perfect. It was not a regular wedding that the guests would attend. What is a wedding without the bridesmaids? They will support you, be your confidants, and calm you down when you will be on the verge of breaking down. The bridesmaids are at the heart of a wedding, and so was the case at this wedding. The bridesmaids will be there till the end. And it was one of the bridesmaids in this wedding that made us all aware of the story. She took the whole of the wedding to her Twitter account with all the incidents that took place at this not-so-regular wedding, and made mysterious revelations about the incidents that took place on the eve just before the wedding day. Twitter has been the latest go-to platform that reveals the unusual events that take place in people's lives nowadays. Everything now is on Twitter, and if a piece of news has the spark, it spreads like wildfire on the social media platform. Likewise was the story of this wedding, which spread widely once it was tweeted by one of the bridesmaids, with the username Starlight Geek. The chaos of this irregular wedding started not any time before the eve of the wedding itself, when everyone was in full zest and zeal for the wedding day. Nobody had anticipated such a piece of miserable news to come in between the celebrations. The horror that struck the whole wedding gathering was an appalling scene in a bedroom. Little did the guests know that they would randomly open a door just to be left speechless, and find the reason that would ruin the wedding itself that they were all gathered for. All this while the main cause of the chaos was that the groom himself was missing from his wedding venue. He was nowhere to be found, and that started the havoc. Where could he be? Had he run away because of the pre-wedding nervousness? The to-be bride was shattered when the news finally reached her as to why the groom was missing. The reason for the horror in the bedroom was no one else but her fiancé himself, who was found with another girl on the eve of his own wedding. The mystery now is who was the girl. As if one bad news of her fiancé being found with another girl was not enough for the bride-to-be, another bad news followed on top of it. The girl that her fiancé had been found cheating with was none other than the bride's own friend, who was also one of her bridesmaids. But this was not the end of the drama. This was just the starting. The couple had decided upon an intimate ceremony with friends and family in the backyard of their home, which they had been planning for many months. From food to decor, to the guest list and the theme, all was decided. The only thing undecided was the betrayal that followed. The damage had been done. The heart had been broken. It was not the gift that the bride-to-be had expected from her fiancé or her bridesmaid. and now was her time to plan the perfect revenge with her true friends and bridesmaids who stayed by her side till the end. Even after so much had happened, the bride decided that the celebrations would not come to a halt and they would continue. She decided that all her preparations would not go to waste, and the joy that she had anticipated would be continued. But what was going to be the occasion of this celebration? The celebrations were going to be for the close and intimate guests that stayed back and the bridesmaids of the almost bride, except of course the one betrayer bridesmaid that was. The locks of the whole house were changed so that the unwanted groom could not get in, since he was not welcomed at all. The almost bride had started her revenge on her cheating fiancé. She had blocked him out of their house and had started a dynamic celebration. How would the groom react to all of this? Would he be sitting silently, or was he into something devastating? The drama had just started to unveil. All this while the almost bride had no tears of sadness. The only emotion that she was experiencing was that of rage. This was just the starting of her planning for revenge. The worst was yet to come. The tweeting bridesmaid highlighted the fact that you shouldn't mess with 2 Slytherins and a Ravenclaw, especially if 2 of them have law degrees. The party that took place in the backyard where the wedding was supposed to be was celebrated to commence the ruin of the groom. The ex-fiancé and his mistress Doom were arriving, and they had self-invited but were unaware of its arrival, and there was no stopping for the bride who had been betrayed. The gathering that was present in the celebration was showing their emotional support to the bride, because for her the celebrations were kind of an escape from her fury and heartbreak. It was going to be a spine-chilling ride for the groom, as his ex-fiancé had planned every detail of it with her bridesmaids. The first installment of the outrage to be discharged was to play paintball. No, not in the normal cliched way that paintball is played, but in an exclusive way decided by the bride and her bridesmaids. They targeted the paint-filled balls not on a white wall, but on the wedding gown of the bride and immersed it in colors. The night had just started, and there was still a long way to go. After all, it was supposed to be the wedding night, but everything had fallen out of place now. The bride had plotted her revenge. A lot was yet to happen that the groom would not have anticipated at all. After so much had taken place, it was now the groom's turn to come forward. He knew that his ex-fiancé had been celebrating and had locked him out of the house. But now he was going to make a move, as if betraying his fiancé was not enough for him. The twist to this drama came in when the cheating groom and his new mistress flew to Las Vegas on the day that was supposed to be his wedding day. They did not just simply go there, but also live-streamed their vacation, where the purpose was just to torment the ex-bride even further and prove that they were not affected by her celebrations. The live streaming of the vacation was an immensely inferior idea, but what was worse was that the purpose of the live video by the groom had been fulfilled, and the almost bride had seen the streaming. She was numb at first and could not understand what was going on. As soon as the video was live, not just the bride and her bridesmaids, but everyone who had stayed back to celebrate and enjoy the bride to keep her emotionally stable was glued to their iPad screens to see what was going on. No one had a clue of what the ex-groom was up to, and what he did was not thought of by anyone, even in their wildest of thoughts. The trip to Las Vegas was not a normal trip that the betraying couple had been to. Their purpose was not just to show the almost bride that they were enjoying their new relationship on a vacation, but it was a lot more than that. While the poor bride had been playing her fragile plans against the groom, the wicked groom took the revenge game to a whole new level, where on one side the bride was trying to celebrate the support of her friends and forgetting the betrayal, the groom had made up his mind of not letting his ex-fiancé be in peace. The newly met betraying couple had planned a wedding as a part of their revenge against the bride. An impromptu wedding in Vegas took place for the two and was showcased live by the couple just to cause discomfort to the ex-bride. What were the two exactly up to and why? All this while the ex-groom and his new lady were playing their power card, not just the bridesmaids and the guests present, but also the ex-bride was watching the wedding take place. She was silent while watching and had no expression at all on her face. The plan that the new couple had devised was very solid. By getting married on the same day when the groom was supposed to marry his bride, whom he cheated on, he hit a new low. Everyone was worried as to how the almost bride react to this. and to their utter surprise, when they checked on her, they saw her lying on the grass. The whole gathering saw the almost bride lying on the grass and not being upset but laughing out loud. She was unable to control her laughter on seeing the immature step that the new couple had taken just to prove themselves smarter and wittier in front of her. The almost bride thought herself as very lucky that she got rid of an immature and abysmal person, and her whole life was saved from being ruined. The bridesmaid on Twitter shared that the bride managed to choke out, "I didn't dodge a bullet, I dodged a fucking atomic bomb. Oh my god, this is just," while laughing. But she was not going to leave things at this. Nobody would have ever thought that the awful bridesmaid who would come for her friend's wedding was going to be a bride herself and have her friend's fiancé as her own groom. Her transition from a bridesmaid to a bride was the least expected thing that her friend, the almost bride, would have dreamed of. The next step for the new betraying couple, after fleeing in guilt to Las Vegas and then getting married instantly, was to announce that they were planning to go on a real honeymoon very soon. Las Vegas was just a quick elopement for these two, and they just wanted to make the ex-fiancé envious. But was it that easy? The planning on the newly wedded couple's part was going strong, but the ex-fiancé was not going to sit silently at any cost, and they had no idea about it. They had started to plan a honeymoon for themselves, but would the ex-fiancé let that happen and sit quietly? Or did she have a plan? The next tweet by Starlight Geek brought the new twist to this interesting story. She told her Twitter family that the ex-fiancé had a shared bank account with her, which the two had opened months back with the purpose of saving money for their honeymoon, and both of them contributed to it equally. Everyone knows that to poke a bitter almost bride is not something one should do. The consequences can be devastating, and so it was proved. She took out all the money from the shared bank account and closed the account permanently, without informing her plan to the ex. There was no wedding for the almost bride, true, but there was a grand celebration that took place after she withdrew all the money that was saved for the honeymoon, and she spent all of it very lavishly. It was the celebration of love and support of family and friends. It was the celebration of money. As soon as the ex-fiancé came to know about the bank account and the absence of all the funds, he understood what was happening. He was shaken to the core and instantly messaged his ex to ask about the money. Little did he know that the money was all gone and there was no coming back to it. The almost bride was not scared of anything that her ex-fiancé would bring in for her in his fury, because she had the whole group of family and friends to support her and protect her from anything that might come in her way. Her whole potluck gathering was present to be her pillar. There was no stopping the girl. She did not just spend all the resources that were gathered for her so-called honeymoon, which would never happen again, but had further plans as well. Her whole team of bridesmaids was behind her as a pillar of strength. The next plan for the bridesmaids and the bride was to remove all the cheater groom's stuff from the house. They decided to not just throw it away, but donate it to Goodwill. The bridesmaid wrote, "Tomorrow we donate her mattress to a DV shelter. His clothes go to Goodwill. She owns his laptop. His mother is taking anything else." But this was not just it either. The strong all-female group had decided to donate all of the ex's stuff to not just one particular Goodwill, but in different Goodwill stores of different areas, so that he has no chance of getting back his stuff by finding its whereabouts. The tweet read, "Low-key update. We've decided to take his things to multiple Goodwill locations. Can't make it too easy for him to get it all back." The wrath of Medea destroyed her husband forever. The wrath of this almost bride was not any less either. She had decided to bring the doom of her ex-fiancé, and she had adopted all unimaginable means to accomplish that. The ex had nowhere to go and be saved from her wrath. The almost bride had finally reached the place where she should have been. She was saved from the unfaithful man who was going to be her life partner very soon. She belonged to the safe place where she was now, and God had made exclusive and different plans to save her from all the wrongs. The truth came in front of the ex-bride at the right time. She was very lucky to have found out about the true side of the man she loved and entrusted. It really was the case of better late than never for her. The most supportive and helping people have been the honest bridesmaids that the ex-bride had. Friends like them are rare to find, and once found should be cherished like a treasure. If your friends are around, every situation seems easier to get out from. The tweeting bridesmaid made the story of her friend's wedding drama a worldwide famous story. Thousands of people were into the story and followed it word by word when she started it with, "Y'all, I have been having the most ridiculous 24 hours. Friends want to keep the drama off Twitter, but it's okay with me saying this." The bridesmaids were what gave courage to the ex-bride, and they stayed back with her during all times. They had decided to be with her for as long as she wanted them to. When the tweeting bridesmaid said, "A core half-dozen of us are staying with her tonight. She won't be alone this week unless she asks."